Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Accommodation Show. This week, I'm joined by not one, by not two, but by three absolute legends from across the world. I'm joined by the awesome Jess Kelso. I am joined by the amazing John Laurie, and by the wonderful Julie George. Welcome to the show, folks.
Thanks for having us, the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, look, I've known you guys for a little bit of time, and we've done quite a few bits and pieces together across the world at different events. A few of you have been on the Accommodation Show. I would call you not only my network, but my friends now. And it's such a pleasure to have you on the Accommodation Show together, all talking about an industry that we love and talking about how we came together and talking about events and conferences and why they are incredibly important for people and what they can get for them coming into 2024. Now, before we get going, what I would love is if each of you could do a brief introduction, because I think most of our listeners will know who you are. But one thing that I do want to focus on is where you're calling in from, because we're actually calling from all sides of the globe right now. So, Jess, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks so much for having me, Bart. My name is Jess, and I'm Australian, but I'm calling in from San Francisco right now. I've been working in the short-term rental industry for about 5.5 years now, and I'm currently with Beyond Pricing, working with dynamic pricing and other tools for revenue management.
Amazing. John, where are you calling from?
Hi, Bart. I'm calling from Auckland in New Zealand. My name is John Laurie. I'm the founder, of The Urban Butler, which is a guest experience focused professional short-term accommodation management company.
I love that. And Julie, where are you today? I know that you're generally everywhere around the world. So,
Well, surprise, surprise. It's like a game of Where's Wally? Where's Julie in the world? Today, I'm actually in my own home in Brisbane, Australia, but it is very rare. Normally, I am flying around the world, and it's a lovely place to visit Australia.
Yeah, meeting everyone, right? So, folks, I'm in Melbourne. So we have people from pretty much every corner of the globe. We don't have anyone in Europe. I do apologize, but probably the time zones wouldn't permit anyway. But it's interesting because we're not all from the same city at all. I saw Jess once last year. I saw John maybe, this one I've got to count up. So twice in Australia, maybe once or twice in New Zealand.
Yep.
And
I'd
then
say
Julie,
3 or 4.
it kind of boggles the mind as to how many different places and locations that we've met up, right? Have you guys seen each other? How many times have you guys seen each other through the past 12 months?
I would say I've seen Jess once and Julie probably 4 or 5 times.
John and I are over in London together, and it's quite amazing that we went through COVID. A lot of us didn't know each other, but we all formed these amazing friendships. But I think you and I we were speaking on every couple of days. We hadn't not met each other until last year. Now you can't get rid of me, or maybe I can't get rid of you. I don't know which way.
Yeah, folks. One thing that I was really conscious of when I wanted to approach this topic of, hey, look at us. We get to travel the world and meet each other. Aren't we great? That's not the intention at all. If you're a listener, we're not trying to brag here. What we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do, is to demonstrate that we do the traveling and we do the trips with purpose. It's a lot of energy and it's a lot of work to get out there and meet people, and you're working, right? Like you're going and you're networking, you're having a great time, but you have to really engage in what you're doing. You have to work. And it's a strategy. You do it because you are building a business within the industry that you love. And the reason why I got this group of people together is that everyone's coming at it from a different angle and a different perspective. And these three people came to Strive to Thrive in 2023. And they did it for their networking and to get together. So for all the listeners, today what we're going to hopefully bring you is some insights as to why everyone's getting together, what they got out of it in 2023, and maybe what their plans are for 2024 in terms of their travel in terms of connecting and what the value of these events may be. How does that sound, everyone? Like all of our guests. I'm kind of like, are you guys guests or speakers? All right. So, um, Julie, I think I might kick off with you because I think that you probably have done the most countries across the world
Yeah.
in 2023. How many different events would you say you've gone to? And what would you say the most important reason is for you as a business owner to go to these events?
Yeah, look, I know that you said that we're doing this with purpose, but I've got to actually say, and I'm hoping that this will come across as inspiration, not a brag. I do it for the purpose of seeing the world as well as connecting with strategic relationships around the world. For me, now that I've sold my property management business, I've got books, I'm mentoring, I'm coaching. My purpose really is to connect and to inspire, mentor, and support other hosts around the world to do something similar. And to be able to go and actually see people face to face, it's bloody brilliant. It's a whole different ball game to doing these Zooms or talking on the phone. Giving John Laurie a big hug and Jess Kelso a pat on the back for the amazing work she's doing. Taking Bart to Disney World to hang out with the, like how do we? I'm sure we're going to figure out a way of saying that was a business meeting, Bart.
Yeah.
Going to Disney World in Orlando, but those experiences that you have with industry colleagues. Just most recently, 2 weeks ago, I was on a Bahamas cruise with Rebecca Cribben from Australia and a couple of other short-term rental operators. Look, that was fun, but more importantly, it was those relationships that are now solid. So if she's having an issue, she can call me. If I'm having an issue, I can lean in on her. I think what we forget is that sometimes this short-term rental industry can be quite lonely, and we need to support each other. We need to collaborate with each other. We need to bring that community feel in. So this year, yes, I have been to America 4 times, Mexico 4 times, Scotland, London, UK. I've been really fortunate to travel and see some amazing things, experience some amazing adventures. If you're following me on social media, you'll see that. But more importantly, strategic relationships.
You're amazing. Jess, I might ask you the same. I'm going to ask all three of you the same question. So feel free to also jump in as we're going. There's no structured format here. So if you've got anything you want to add as you go, then go for it. Don't feel that you're interrupting.
Yeah, sure thing. Julie's one of my favorite Facebook friends. I love seeing your adventures around the world, so keep it up. It's been really interesting. I've been with Beyond for 5.5 years, and when I joined, there were 20 of us, and I went to every single conference, including Expo RV in Mexico, where I was the best Spanish speaker at the company at the time, which is laughable, really. I mean, my Spanish is okay, but and so it's been really interesting to watch us grow from that to where we are today. And I checked in with our events team, and we went to over 30 events globally, like as a company. And I didn't go to Mexico because our Spanish speaking team from Barcelona actually went to Cancun. So maybe if I do some more Duolingo.
It was very boring without you. And I've got to say, I'm now on Duolingo as well. Sorry to interrupt, but between how about we make it a bit of a challenge for ourselves that next year in Cancun, when we go to Expo RV, that we're speaking fluent Spanish. So
I love that. I love that. Let's do it. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. But this is an industry that's based on relationships, and people get into this industry because usually they like people and they like vacations, and or holidays, and so having the opportunity to meet in person, it's honestly priceless. I can't, and I was based in Barcelona a couple of years ago, so went to London events, and other ones in Europe, being able to connect internationally, because we are all having the same issues and just with a slightly local flavor, and it doesn't make sense not to collaborate and work together to find solutions. So yeah, I love going to events. But the furthest one I went to this year was Strive in Melbourne, and also my favorite. But we can get to that later.
Love it. You're setting this up, and folks, yes, let's put it out there. We are doing this because all three of these people were speakers at Strive to Thrive 2023. We are putting on an event in March 2024, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode. But just with a bit of intention there, we're not trying to deceive anyone. John, John, tell me your story because I know as well, you've been, I don't know, it's kind of, I'll tell you from my perspective, like you're an operator in New Zealand. You went up and down with the pandemic in terms of
Yep.
the number of properties and probably a lot of stress as the business gets put under pressure because of lockdowns and COVID. New Zealand in general isn't the biggest market in the world. And the commercial benefit for you to do as much traveling as you are, it could be debated either way, right? Like you could just say, hey, you know what? It's an awful lot of money to spend. I don't have a huge business. I'm growing my business. But you must have seen the light in terms of I want to go to these events. I want to network. I want more exposures. I want people to know me. I'd love to hear your kind of perspective as to why you do what you do.
Yeah, that's right, Bart. Look, I would say this. If I was talking to my advisory board, if I was talking to you, you can't measure the return on investment that you get from going to these events. I mean, both Jess and Julie hit the nail on the head. You know, when you're a founder or you're running a small to medium sized business, it is quite a lonely journey, and you know the travel and experience is part of the reason why you got into it in the first place. But you
Mm,
know the connections that you make when you go to these events, the presentations that I do, you know, it's all part of building the brand. Um, you find out about new products, new software, and you can sort of tap into all these different networks that are all, you know, part of a very new or fairly new infancy business industry, and everyone's excited, everyone's trying new things, and everyone wants to have a good time. So you can't really argue with that.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you something that this is my little secret. So last week I had a consultation with actually some people that came to Strive, and I'm not going to name the name of the company, but they were looking. They're more sort of hotels and sort of I forget the name of the word, but anyhow, they're more hotels. And then their team was learning about STR. So through this consultation that I was doing, and one of the things that they said to me was, it's very clear that STR is tech driven and that everything is done through technology to make this industry stick together. And Jess, I'm going to ask you because I think you might know the most out of all of us, and Julie, you will as well because of how you built your business. And John, I'll come back to you at the end. But the technology side from where we were, so in my opinion, actually not even opinion, I'd almost state it as a fact that technology is what drives the short-term rental industry and has let us scale and get to where we are. But from where we were 5 years ago to where we are now, the number of tech companies that have come out and the amount of important critical technology has just accelerated. Just tell us give us the landscape and what you've seen in conferences through that time.
Yeah, you've actually, the first thing I had written down as like what I saw across conferences, particularly in 2023, was this fragmentation of technology and knowing like what to invest in when and what your tech stack should look like to actually make your life easier. Because we think about technology as making your life easier, but if your property management system doesn't talk to booking.com, for example, like that's going to make your life a lot more difficult. So I think the embracing of technology has been like they're completely right. I've never seen anything like it, like I see in the short-term rental industry, and knowing that it's important. But I think it's still a bit disparate and fragmented, and
Mm,
there are lots of providers who do integrate with other providers. Like that's what we do. We integrate with property management systems, but finding the right combination. And then as soon as you change your property management system, for example, then you might have to change all the other pieces that plug into it. Maybe John has experience with this, but finding the right combination in a tech stack to actually make your life easier is like a very important, but can be a difficult undertaking. And just like signing up for the shiniest new thing doesn't always
mm.
give you exactly what you need.
And there's always a few shiny new things every conference, right?
Yeah,
Always.
exactly.
Julie,
Just a couple. Look,
yeah.
I think it's so overwhelming at the moment for somebody new into our space. You walk into one of these conventions or conferences, and holy crap, there's just a couple. One of my favorite, I've got all my swag here. So, I talk about going to conferences for all the swag that I get. But one of my favorite things that I picked up this year was from AJL, Simon Lehman. Now, this here is a list of all of the tech companies in the world. 420 tech companies that support short-term rentals at the moment. Holy crap. I
That's
think
probably
there's
superseded now as well.
exactly. And I think there's a real, I think there's a lot of, Jess said it before, a lot of shiny objects out there. One of my favorite quotes is automate, don't complicate. And for me, building my business, if I was to go and do it all over again, I would probably do it again very similar. And I'm going to be controversial here, without a PMS, without a channel manager. I would probably just do it 100% Airbnb again and direct bookings. The one regret that I always have, and Jess, you'll love this, is that I didn't use dynamic pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So now starting afresh, if I was to do everything again, dynamic pricing, I'd get, and there's plenty of offerings out there, including Beyond, but I would make sure that was in there. I think you've just got to be careful not to be distracted by these shiny objects. And folks, if you're listening in right now, if you're overwhelmed, it's okay. It's natural, because even the experienced people are overwhelmed when we walk into a exhibitor hall these days.
I want to pick up on that, Julie. There was at the Astra conference, I was talking to someone post the conference, and they were saying that the amazing thing with going into these events they'd never really been, never really engaged, was to
Get the swag.
You get the swag, yeah, that's right. That's all. But also to get assurance that they're going down the right path, that they're not crazy for trying this and trying that, and talking to people and going, all right, okay, dynamic pricing, it is doing what we should be doing. Are these the right technology companies? Am I doing things correctly? Should I be running my cleaners in this and that sort of way? And I think that, John, that would be probably quite relevant for you as an operator, right? Is actually, you're talking to all the technology suppliers, which is great, but also you're meeting like-minded people.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there is a lot of new shiny things out there, and you often walk away wanting to do demos and the rest of it. But it is about streamlining it and not creating more admin by having more software, but add-on software. And of course, the developers and the founders of those software companies are also, selling you the dream. They're hustlers as much as we are. So it's very much, you've got to make sure that it is the right product for your business, and that not location wise necessarily, or even the product, but it's also the size of the business, and at what point you need to bring that additional piece of software in to streamline the operations or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield, and it is very fragmented. But there has been a lot of consolidation over the last 12 months or more, with some of the bigger PMCs bringing in some of those smaller add-on products into their main sort of engine room.
John, I really want to ask you about those personal
PMSs,
relationships with other property management companies.
Yep.
I'm confident that you've extended your networks maybe tenfold or even more through the past 24 months, right? Because you've been on this project for a little while in terms of joining the board of Astra and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Those relationships that you've made with the PMCs, do you call people often? What kind of things are you learning from each other? Are you part of sort of more deep networks, or are you kind of like still Lone Ranger, don't need those people?
No, not at all. No, we definitely speak to a lot of people, whether it's on LinkedIn or Zoom calls overseas. Catch up with a few other PMCs whenever I go over to Australia, that sort of thing, and also in Israel and London earlier this year. There's certain little sort of groups of PMCs that consider themselves to be the same kind of offering, and that kind of referral system, although it's not official, is in place. As far as recommending if anyone's going to London, you should speak to, you should go and stay with these guys, that sort of thing. So I don't know. There has been talk of making it more of a sort of official affiliated network that people can tap into, but that hasn't been put in place as yet. But it's certainly something that's been talked about.
I'm going to jump in here because that's something that I'm trying to offer. I've now developed a platform to bring the community together, and what is going on behind the scenes, there's some stuff going on where, look, if you want to stay with a particular host, there's no way of searching that person out if you can't remember their business name, or or to look for their listing. So I think connecting and staying connected with our community, it's all well and good on social media, but if there was some sort of filtration system, a directory, a community platform, hint, hint, come and talk to me, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do at the moment, is to try and connect everybody and have everybody lean in on each other, because it's so important to do that.
Yeah, and it's so hard to to build those networks, right? It just takes a lot of time and effort, and we're super busy in our businesses doing what we do, and anything that can kind of hack that and make it easier and to accelerate those relationships so you can find the people that you're actually looking for. Quite often as well, we can meet people and they might not be the same sort of business set. They might be at different stages, or you might it might be of more value to surround yourself with a group that's at the same stage of business. So those sorts of things, like what you're creating, Julie, are really important, because that's what's going to help people solidify their business in the future. And not only that, but not only somewhere to stay, but when you're looking to get out of the business, it's good to have those networks to leverage on. But I don't think I'm going to do that topic today because it's a fascinating one. So, what are the biggest things that you folks took away from the events that you attended in 2023?
Ooh, that's a big one.
I
Well,
would have to.
lots of swag to start with. Lots of lanyards. In fact, I'm thinking I need to do a social media post with all the lanyards that I got.
I'll compete with you. I think you'll win that one, but I got a couple as well.
Yeah, well, it was so cool to see you, Bart, traveling overseas as well. And look, I'm going to flip it back on you in a second to say, why did you go to America? And what did you get out of it? But just to answer your question, it's those relationships. Like, it really is those relationships. And for me, being able to meet new people, and especially new people to the industry, just to welcome them with open arms and absolutely authenticity, with the absolute, wanting to help others, and seeing everybody else sharing their help as well, and just really, I don't know, it's a freaking amazing industry that we're in, and I'm not going to swear, but what other industry do you find where there's not really any competition? Like John was just saying, that there's a lot of hosts at that same level. Well, they're all working together for the greater good of this industry. They're not competing against each other. So that's my take on it. But Bart, I do want to hear your answer in a minute to why you went overseas.
I'll let the other two go, but I'll add to that as well for sure.
I mean, it's all the connections and the products, the software, as we've talked about. I mean, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I did a product demo with a guy in Israel, this incredible new operations type software that has got so much adaptability and so much data. It's amazing. But I only found out about that through a guy who I'd met in London last year, who did a presentation at VRWS, and I saw it online, asked him for the slides, we caught up, and then he said at the end of the call, "Oh, I forgot to mention this other software that I saw the other day. It's incredible. You should do a demo." And that kind of, I've been asking a couple of people online this morning about it, other people in the industry. No one's heard of it, even people that are operating in that space. So that's the kind of, the opportunities that you've got is people just sharing new products and information that if you know that they run a good operation, then you respect their sort of recommendation, and then that flows from there really. But yeah, it's a lovely little system.
Amazing. I think we're going to get a lot of messages at the end saying, "Hey, what's that software?" So
Yeah.
don't mention
Yeah,
it.
I'm
We'll
like
put it in the links at the bottom, right?
whisper it on the side.
You
Yeah.
have to come to the next conference and
It's
meet John, and then
secret.
he'll tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the other way. Like, it's great to hear you all talk about technology and the new things and being interested in that. But as somebody who sort of lives and breathes that side of the business, I love going to meet the people and then hear about the challenges or the opportunities that people like John see
Yeah.
in his business. And so, one thing that's always fascinated me, and I've for years have been trying to like help our users help their customers, basically, is the owner acquisition and retention side. And
Mm,
so that was something that I thought was really interesting in the conferences I went to this year. It's easy to retain owners when markets are booming, but we saw some like stabilization or decline in the US compared to some of those sort of peak post COVID years. And so, really, like demonstrating to your owners that, okay, yes, your revenue is down this year, but compared to market conditions, like I actually did a really great job for you as a property manager. I don't want to speak for you, John, but it seems like really, really difficult. And so that was one of my key takeaways from conferences this year was, yeah, like getting more insight into the other side of the business so that we can help build solutions that help people like John solve those problems.
Yeah, there
that's
definitely is a much bigger focus on owner experience these days, and owners are becoming more savvy for many of the reasons that you just mentioned, Jess. So yeah, yeah, that's certainly something that I've seen at the conferences this year as well.
Yeah, and as things get more competitive, then you need to provide a high level of service, and that's what's the really difficult thing about short term rentals is that you've got your guests, and then you're also got the other side. So you're doing business to business with your owners, and you're doing business to consumer on the other side. So you're kind of running two businesses in parallel that you're constantly trying to balance and get right. One of the things that I found fascinating, Jess, on exactly this point was during Julie's panel session. One of the things she asked was how many properties do people manage in the room, and then I think she started off at 5 to 10, and there's like three hands that go up. She's like 10 to 20, another two hands go up. She's like 50, and like another four hands go up, and she's like, oh my god, there's no one in this room manages properties. I think that's what you were thinking at that stage. And she's like, all right, over 100, and then more hands start to go up, and then 150, 200, and like all these hands start going up. She's like 500, and half the room's got their hands up, and it's like 500. What's going on? I don't remember the exact number,
Yeah.
but the point being is that we're isolated and we can't potentially see what the potential is of our business unless we go there and we see a guy or a girl across the road and you're like, oh my god, I could do the same. I could grow my business to this particular stage. What sets them apart from us? Where are they on their journey? You can go and talk to them. And I think, Julie, to answer the question that you never really asked, but for me, it's about seeing what's possible. Now, the first VRMA I went to last year, I came back and I was devastated. I was
Right.
devastated because I was like, oh my God, iBooked.Online is an amazing platform. We're doing great things for people, but why don't we have a booth? Why am I not further along in the business? Why doesn't everybody know about what we do?
More
And I
swag,
had
but
I had a yardstick to work from, and then go, all right. So I didn't hear that. I had a yardstick to work from and go, okay, so this is where the industry is at, and this is where the potential is. So then when I go back to learn, to see what all my competitors are doing, to see what the whole industry is doing, to build relationships. The other reason why I go to the conferences, Julie, and this one's really close to my heart, is to try to do same as what you're doing is help to reinforce our networks and to find the best property management companies, the best software out. That doesn't even have to be the best. It can be people that are building new businesses, that are giving it a try, and that have got passion and enthusiasm, and get those people and give them an opportunity to come over to Australia as well. So as much as all our clients are in the US as well, but we want to be able to create a space where a company like Beyond can sponsor our conference and come in with confidence that there's going to be 100, 200 people in the room that are all property managers and interested in their product. So therefore, we're creating a community in terms of Australia, but we're also bringing the best suppliers to them so that everyone in Australia doesn't have to travel and do what we do all the time. So that's kind of a long answer for you there.
But I'm going to ask you though. So last year you were feeling defeated after coming back from VRMA.
Yeah.
Please tell me that this year you were inspired, and because you were inspiring others. You could see Bart running around the convention center in America, in Orlando, interviewing people and just having the best time and the best fun. And you were flying the flag so proudly for Australia. How did you feel coming back this year?
Yeah. So look, I think that this is all a bit personal, but I'll tell you. So when I came back the previous year, I felt like I had been chugging along with the business for so long and pushing so hard, but not really getting what I had deserved in terms of the results. And then I'm looking at other people, like, how are they getting these results? So that year in between is where I've put all the work in to then be able to go to these conferences and be able to kind of stand at a different sort of level of where I was before. So
Good.
now my intention in terms of the event was completely different, actually. My intention before was to just go and check it out, see what's going on, make some networks. Maybe I'll get a speaking spot, that kind of thing. Now it's actually, no, I'm actually going there because I really want to meet everyone and see what everybody's doing. And almost it's almost the other way around. I also want to tell them, like, give them value. Like that was all I was doing. Just go, hey, I saw you doing this. You've got a new team starting in Australia. You should have a think about this. This person's really good. Or think, oh, I saw this person present at Astra. That was amazing. They did a great job. But have a think about these different things in this marketplace. So that's kind of it was nice to be able to go there and give real value to people that I was talking to. So yeah, a bit of a different experience.
Good to hear, because I think it's, people for the first time coming to any of those big conferences, and Orlando VRMA, we had 3 or 4 thousand people there, so it was one of the bigger ones. We want you to feel inspired and embraced and happy, and motivated when you get home. So folks, please know that if you come along, just be inspired and see what's possible. Like we were saying, that there's people that are putting their hand up saying they've got thousands of properties. Well, then go and have a chat with them, because they all started with one property. You too can be very much in their position in a couple of years' time.
And if you go into the exhibitor hall as well, the exhibitors I find have got the best data. And the reason is this is my rationale. And Jess, I want your opinion on this, and John as well, and everybody. But I find that because when I'm talking to a supplier, they're talking to all of the property management companies. So they've got visibility over the whole industry at different levels. So depending on the property management company, the PMS software that you're working with, or the pricing software, then generally those people that you're talking to, they just see the whole gamut of what's going on, and they can really give you some advice, depending on what you need. And that's what I found really useful in terms of talking to them, is figuring out what's next. Jess, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really astute observation. And like we always say at Beyond, we support people from 1 to 1,000 listings. But like I specialize in supporting the group of 1 to 10 listings in my role today. And people have different needs and challenges that when you do have 1,000 listings. And some people want to stay at 10 listings, for example, and then some people want to grow to 1,000. To the point made earlier that everybody has to start somewhere, and there are people in the room that have had that growth that you can chat to on those sorts of things. But yeah, even listening to people talk about, John, like the informal network of property managers, sharing recommendations. Like we have a lot of people who are not in the same geographic location, but are experiencing the same issues. And so we have insight and visibility into, what's happening that's common globally or isolated in different areas. So yeah, to your point, Bart, I think the software providers have a very distinct and useful view, especially if you're starting and trying to understand what the lay of the land could look like. Because it could be, expand in your local area. It could be expand into other areas. It could be stay at that size, but have niche properties. Like there are so many different options. And I think, yeah, the people on the software side usually have some great stories, at least, as to what has worked and what has not worked for others.
You very eloquently put, by the way. I wish I could have said it like you just said it.
I try.
John, anything to add there?
No, I mean I couldn't agree more. The software companies do speak to all of the players in the industry, so their intel, excuse me, is greater than anyone else's. To be honest, totally agree. Something that you touched on earlier, I think it was Julie or Bart, about going to some of the conferences. The first time you go, and it can be quite overwhelming, and you've got all these new types of software everywhere and all the rest of it. I was speaking to a guy in the US the other day who has a company, and they specialize in sort of 1 to 10 host companies. So it's a PMS, but they go out to all of the software providers and have accounts. And so then they, add all the smaller property management companies together to get the bulk discount. And then they recommend to which ones, which bits of software they should be using. And I just thought that was a very clever business to start with. And also, secondly, very useful to new players in the industry that are overwhelmed by the amount of software and options that are out there. I thought it was a very good solution, actually.
Gotcha. Good. Anything more to add to that, Julie?
Oh, look, I just think the new kids on the block, anyone coming into the industry for the very first time, probably one of my favourite takeaways from all of the conferences this year was to actually get up on stage in Nashville. We had 1,000 people in the audience, and I asked for how many people had their first, had one property, and there was a number of hands that were raised. And I said, how many of you start off the sentence of meeting someone at these conferences by saying, I've only got one property? Cut that out, celebrate your one property, and walk up to somebody and go, hi, my name's Laura, and I've got one property in Whistler. And celebrate the fact that you're actually in the industry. You have achieved the amazing opportunity of finding a property in this industry. Celebrate it, don't apologize for it. So I'm just thinking, when we have these new kids, let's start spreading that rhetoric of celebrate that one property, because that first property is the hardest property to get of all in our portfolio. Once you've got one, they will keep coming. But that first one, celebrate with people that are there for the first time. If you meet them for the first time, congratulate them on being there, being in the industry, and also being able to run their business remotely or without them being involved, so that they can attend the conferences, because that is a celebration in itself.
Yeah, that leap of faith as well, to go to your first event and to invest your time and your money, and you're probably not making much money anyway if you're at 1, 2, or 3 properties, and you've decided to go and take that leap of faith into your training. Now, the advantage of that training is unbelievable, because you don't have to make the same mistakes, and we all know about the different mistakes we've all made at different stages, and we don't have to make them again and again and again, and you just learn from someone. It's just going to save you thousands of dollars if you listen to the right people and if you do that networking and everything like that. Now, folks, we're rapidly coming towards the end of the episode. 2024, there's just a couple of things. One, I want to ask you, and it's going to be a double barrel question, so I do apologize. I don't know if I'll get away with double barreling in this way. So let's start off with this. What, just as maybe 1 or 2 key points, as quick as you can. 2024, in terms of the industry, not conferences as such, 2024, in terms of the industry, what are you looking at and what should we expect?
I'm going to go first because, obviously I'm not shy. Folks, look, I think 2024 is time to level up, and it's time to get our standards in place, because what I'm finding is it's the worst kept secret in the industry is that when a lot of us are traveling to these conferences, we're not staying in short-term rentals. We're staying in a hotel because we know what we're going to get. We know the standards. I think it's time that we lift those standards in our short-term rentals and our hosting. So I think that we're going to see a big shift in that area.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. We should build a platform
Has to
around that,
happen.
Julie.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Isn't it a good idea? Love it.
I would say owner experience and consolidation of some of the software companies into the PMSs.
Yeah,
Cool.
love it. Jess.
Yeah, I think I'll go with a similar trend. Something we've been looking at a lot at Beyond is like inclusivity as well, and providing like top level experiences, but that are inclusive. And I wrote this down when I was researching for this, but by 2026, Gen Z will have the largest generation, will be the largest generation, and 52% of them are frequent travelers. And like that's really important to them. And so, to Julie's point about consistency as well, like having a brand that like puts their money where their mouth is too is and showcases that is something that I think is only going to get increasingly important. And then having that digital presence, like I can't wait to see John's TikTok channel personally, promoting Urban Butler, reaching those Gen Zs. But I think a lot of people have an Instagram account for their listing or their company, but like what does that look like to use that to leverage people actually booking with you direct and like not through Airbnb potentially, like sort of how does that all play together as well, I think is something I'm really excited to watch in 2024.
There's some great
Yeah.
insights from all of you. Like, I couldn't agree more. I think there's going to be a bit of a shift in terms of the demographic that we're appealing to. I think that the guests that we had kind of pre-pandemic, they're going to start to sort of move back into the maybe even into the hotel space or kind of do things differently. And we've got this whole new generation that's coming through that we need to cater for if we are going to build for the next 5 to 10 years. And when you're planning out your short-term rental business, it can't be for the next year or two. It really needs to be looking further ahead. Especially if you're trying to build something that's got value for sale, you want to build a brand, if you want to increase your profitability, then those are things that you need to think about 100%. So absolutely love that. What was the other one that I was going to mention? I'll come back to it in a second. Now, the last thing that I've got, and this one's a little bit more controversial. 2023 was probably the year of the most short-term rental events in the world. I don't think there's been a year in history that's been as busy as last year. Most companies that I talk to, they say, but there's just so many. Now we're choosing exactly which ones to go to.
Yeah.
In our local market in Australia, there's only a few events. I reckon there'll be a few more. How do we choose which ones we should go for? Go to.
That's a very difficult question.
There's
I mean, there
definitely
are so many now, right? I mean, when I look
and
at LinkedIn, there's a different one every day.
every day, and especially in the United States where most of my clients are, that there's something every week. And just I don't know how you do it, but there's definitely conference fatigue at this time of the year. A lot of people, and so I've just come back from Cancun last week, VR Expo down there, and it's not only the attendees, but it is the vendors that are now going, holy crap, I'm not sure if this particular conference was worth it or that one was worth it. So I think 2024, people are going to be more selective. I think that we will probably see that some events may not get the numbers they think they were going to get because people are maybe picking and choosing a little bit more carefully. I think sponsorships at events are going to be a lot harder to come by unless you can offer extra value. And, but this is where I've got to say that Strive absolutely kicked it out of the park 2023, 2024. You're offering value at Strive for sponsors, which is fantastic. But I think if you don't offer like social media add-ons or having the speakers shout out the sponsors from the stage, or there's got to be a value offering for these sponsors to come through. So I don't know, I can sort of see that the more, and I'm going to be controversial here and actually say that probably some of the better events that I went to this year were the smaller retreats where we hung out for 3 days by a swim-up pool, where some of our sponsors actually got a lot more for their money, or it's got to be these smaller summits, conferences that are put on in person with an intent, purpose, and a result at the end for the vendors.
Yeah, interesting. interesting because even if I think about Strive, and Strive isn't pitched towards 1,000 people, it's pitched towards
No,
100, 200, 300
but
people.
that's
Like,
good.
and that's good. We're lucky because I think we've got a unique product and we haven't had issues with sponsors because they one, the sponsors I think are getting great value. Two is they see the dream and the vision and they want to support, which is amazing. But John, what are your thoughts on what you're going to attend next year and how you're going to
Yeah,
choose your
look, I can't
targets?
go to them all like Julie and Jess, so I do have to choose. I think that for me, it's the ones that you hear about, right, through your networks that people put value in, or put value on, and so the one that I really want to go to next year is Scale in Barcelona because I've heard a lot of good things about that, and I've never been. Um, I've been to
You'd
Gestival a
get into
couple of
so
times.
much trouble at the after party there. So
Which one?
It's a fun
I've
one.
been
Which after
banned. I
party?
can't go back there.
And also I really want to go. I haven't been to any of the US ones, so I actually really want to try and do one of those this year because
There we go.
yeah, it's a whole different market, right? I'll be picking your brains, Julie. Which
Well,
one?
and that's what you've got to do. And I think, Bart, it came back to your question of how do you know? Talk to each other. Make sure
Yeah,
that if you see somebody that's gone to one of those conferences, ask them, would you go back again? And you can, there were a few that I'm not going back to again, I've got to tell you, and I'm not going to name names, but there are a few that I was involved in speaking at that I'm not going to be doing again. So please, if you're considering doing any of the events that I've been to, that John, Jess, or Bart have been to, talk to us. Talk to
Yeah,
us before you book your ticket. Jess, what are
beauty.
your thoughts?
Yeah, Jess.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think you've all touched on what I would have said too. We'll go to any conference once. And so it's sort of like you get one chance to prove to a sponsor that like it's
that's right.
worthwhile. So yeah, make it count. And then I think you have to go to the big ones, right? As a tech company. But then I think what Strive to Thrive did really well is like you go to the ones that have an identity. And so to Julie's point, you go to the ones that your network talk about and that differentiate themselves in some way, because at the end of the day, it is about building relationships. This whole industry, that's what it's predicated on. And like, that's how, like, we did more business at Strive than we might have done at a conference of 1,000 people because I had the opportunity to sit and talk to people and
Mm,
take half an hour out to demo the product. It wasn't like this churn and burn of like getting people through just to tick a box of numbers. So yeah, I think the big ones are no brainers, and then the established ones, and then the ones that have an identity and offer something different for you as a sponsor and for the attendees. They're always the ones we prioritize too.
I need to apologize because there is one last question that I find really important, but I want to get your opinions on. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe you guys will agree, but I really want the truth. And it's a bit of a contrived question in that way, but all the feedback that I've ever had from everyone is meeting your supplier, even if it's a BDM that you're meeting, like a sales rep, but actually talking to a person about your problems can make significant difference in the whole process, the process of onboarding, the process of building your business into the future. So it's all good and well doing online demos. You could reach out to Jess tomorrow and you could get a demo of Beyond or any of the different solutions out there. But actually meeting in person and building that relationship. I mean, I've seen it in practice. I've literally seen people go, oh, I know that person, blah, I've got that. It just changes the value proposition. John, what do you
Yeah,
reckon?
I was going to say, can I go
Oh,
first
we've
on
lost
this one?
John. We've
Oh,
We've
lost
lost
John.
John.
Maybe he'll come back in.
can you hear
Julie,
me?
Jess, do you
Yeah,
wanna? What are your opinions on it? I know it's a
100%.
contrived question, but just kind of wondering what your thoughts are.
No, once you meet people, you just view them in a whole different, a whole different way. So, 100%, yes, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I also think we really value this at Beyond too. And like, I'm not a salesperson, and I love going to the events in Australia because I'm Australian. I have that tie in. But especially the bigger events, we always send salespeople and customer success managers. And it's just as much about selling new business as it is about giving our customers the opportunity to like meet their account managers face to face too,
Yeah.
because it just unlocks another level of the relationship, both personal and professional, to be honest.
Yeah. Good, good. All right, folks. Strive to Thrive, March the 20th and 21st. Beyond are going to be there. Julie George is going to be there. John Laurie is gone, so I don't even know yet, but I imagine he'll come for
Here we
sure.
come.
So make sure that you get your tickets. I've got a sneaky feeling we're going to sell out, and then there'll be people complaining that they didn't get a ticket. So don't be one of those people that goes, "Oh, you should have told me." I've literally told everybody now. So get your ticket. There's options for everybody. So if you want to come for 2 days, then come for 2 days. If you don't have the budget, come for one day. We do add a lot of value. So in terms of free drinks, free food. We try to make it more of an experience rather than just a conference. So it gives you the opportunity to build those networks properly, sit down and have a bit of a dinner, have a chat with people, meet someone new. We really encourage that sort of behavior. To the both of you, thank you so much. At this stage, I wish you an amazing end of the year, a great Christmas, a good break, hopefully. And I'm looking forward to see you guys all in the new year. John's going to come straight back in for the last 3 seconds, maybe. He's loading. He's loading. I can hear a voice coming through, and there's a bit of a. We were just
So
wrapping things up,
sorry.
Mr. John. So look, thank you so much. Once again, folks, if you want to reach out or connect to these people, you'll have them
I'm so
in the
sorry.
footnotes. So we'll have links to their LinkedIn profiles and to their Instagram profiles, so you can follow them, follow the company, get to know them. I'm sure if you send them a direct message, they're more than happy to answer your questions as well. So we have Jess Kelso from Beyond Pricing, Julie George, the $1 Million Host, and we had John Laurie from the Urban Butler, who's having technical issues. All right, take care, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thanks, Bart. Thanks all.